What's up, guys? This is Kyurem from the Trinity of Lift, and today I bring all of you guys an updated version of my Madolche deck. After reviewing my old list, I found that there were a couple discrepancies with the deck and how it performed in the current format, so I wanted to go back in and do a bit of an update to it so that it can be a little bit more competitive than what it once was in my old list. So, let's get right into the new version. Alright, starting off, we do still play the triple Madolche and Jelly. We have to play 3 of her. She's our main combo piece. And by herself, she usually will net you a +2 almost all the time. So we want to have the 3 Angeli so we can see it as often as possible, as early as possible, and so we can see it with our other combo pieces. Next up, we do run the 3 Madolche Madolche. We have to run 3 of her again because she is our Stratos of the deck. Whenever she is summoned, either normal or flip summoned, she does search us any Madolche monster from our deck and adds it to our hand. So we want to run the 3 of her so we can search out our Angelis as soon as possible. Next up for the 3 of Madolches, we do run the 3 Madolche Hoot Cakes. I bumped up Hoot Cakes from 2 to 3 now, primarily because I realized how essential Hoot Cakes is to having a 1-to-1 ratio of with Angeli, because if you do not have the degenerate combo of Mufway and Angeli, we most of the time will just be normal summoning Angeli and then going into the Hoot Cakes. So I wanted to have that ratio of 1-to-1 of Hoot Cakes to Angeli because we will be going into Hoot Cakes with Angeli majority of the time, and we want to have that 3 Hoot Cakes just in case we might draw into one. We will still have access to our combos, and we won't not have them in the deck, I should say. So we do run the 3 Hoot Cakes just for that now. Next up, we do run the 3 Madolche Mufway. It is what sets off our combos pretty much 100% of the time. If we have a Mufway and any other Madolche except Madolche, we pretty much can always do some kind of play that will net us at least a +2, I believe. I don't know the exact card efficiency or card ratios that will get Mufway with any of the other Madolches, but I believe that if you at least have Mufway with any other Madolche, even including another copy of itself, you usually can do at least something. So I like to have the 3 because, again, it is our big combo piece, and we can always search it with Madolche and whatnot. For our final Madolche monster that we do play only 2 Messengelato. Again, he's very good because he does search us any of our Madolche spell or traps, but we really don't want to draw into him because basically outside of him and a Mufway, he becomes extremely slow and dead in our hand. So I only like the 2 just so I can avoid that dead drawing, but I do still have the 2 just in case I can still go through my combos and not have to worry about running out of them from my deck. Now then, for the last 2 monsters that we do run 2 Swift Scarecrow. The reason why I have this now in the deck rather than my hands from the last list is because this deck doesn't really have a lot of defense, really. Like, if your opponent starts making big damage on board and you don't already have an established board yourself, you really don't have anything to defend against it. So I have Swift Scarecrow in there just for those moments when my opponent does make that OTK board, and so I can safely rely on Swift Scarecrow to really help me save a turn, and so maybe I can come back from it. Another thing that Swift Scarecrow does is it synergizes extremely well with Hoot Cakes, as since you have to discard Swift Scarecrow, that immediately makes all of your Hoot Cakes live, so that really can help you get your plays off, and you don't really have to do the degenerate Angeli search for Hoot Cakes kind of play. You can sort of do something weird like a Mufway into a Hoot Cakes play, and then you can still get your board of usually Tiramisu and Levier. So that's why we do run the Swift Scarecrow now. So that's it for the monsters. Moving on to begin with the spells, we do run the 2 Madolche Chateau. Again, I like 2 because you really don't need a third, and you can always search Chateau out whenever you need it, as well as if you ever do draw into it, it's always just a bonus. So we don't really need to run more than 2 because, again, we can search it. Much like Chateau, we do run still the 1 ticket because, again, we can search it with our Messengelatos whenever we might need it. And if we do ever draw into it, it's never bad, and it always just backs up our boards by having any of our Madolche monsters backed up by a ticket. And it'll ensure that we won't ever go neg enough where we might run out of Madolches to play. So that's why ticket is still very good in the deck, and you really won't need 2 because frankly, you can recycle both this and Chateau if it does get destroyed, and you don't really need 2 ticket because sadly the effect does not stack. So that's why you don't ever need the 2, because if you dead draw into 2, it becomes basically useless. So that's why we run the 1. Moving on to the 3 of staple spell cards, we have the 3 MST, because it's a staple in pretty much every deck nowadays. We have to run the 3 MST. Then we run the 3 Upstart Goblin, because since this is a very combo-based deck, we want to see our combo pieces ASAP. So having that 37 card deck is always nice. Finally, for the last 3 spells we play are just power 1-ofs. We do play the 1 Snatch Steal, the 1 Book, and the 1 Raigeki. They're all fairly self-explanatory nowadays, so I don't really need to explain them much. They're all just very good cards to have as very powerful 1-ofs. So that is it for these spell cards. Moving on to the traps, we start off with the 1 Madolche Palooza. This is our swarming card. Whenever we do start recycling our combos, or whenever we find ourselves to have a very monster-heavy hand, we have Madolche Palooza to basically throw everything that we have onto board, and so that we can start making plays with them on board. I really don't need more than 1 Palooza, because like every Madolche spell and trap, we can search it with Messengelato, so we can just see it whenever we need it, rather than have to run more copies just to see it earlier. So that's why I like the 1 Palooza as sort of a win more card, but it really helps establish boards that we otherwise couldn't. So we have the 1 Palooza. Next up, we have the 2 Trap Stun and the 2 Wiretap now. I like this ratio now of 2 to 2 compared to my old ratio of 3 and 3. The reason why I cut both copies down to 2 is because since there isn't a lot of back row running around nowadays, I thought that the 3rd Wiretap and the 3rd Trap Stun were completely redundant and that it wasn't needed whatsoever. So I just cut them so I could include other stuff inside the deck that are more contoured towards the meta. And although there are times when I will side in the 3rd copy of either Trapstone or Wiretap, I'm happy that I don't main the 3, because now it's slowly becoming more of a dead draw for me anyway when I do draw into Trapstones and Wiretaps, because there's more times than not when I'm going to be playing any sort of meta deck and they don't have any back row to stop. So basically these cards become dead. So I just cut it down for that reason, just as a huge meta call. But still, they're nice to have whenever you want to go into your combos for that just extra protection. Moving on to another 2 of Trap, we do have the 2 Vanity's Emptiness now. Vanities is actually getting way more relevant in my opinion now in the meta, because this card single-handedly can shut down the Necrons matchup, and it can really slow down almost anything outside of maybe Cleaforts and whatever. So I have the Vanities to really slow down our opponent so that we can add to our survivability and defense of the deck. Finally, for the final 2 of Trap, we do have the 2 Mirror Force. Mirror Force is seeing a resurgence now in play, and so I decided to put it in the deck also because, again, like I said, with Swift Scarecrow, we don't have a lot of defense in the deck, so we do have the 2 Mirror Force to just add to that defense and to just have a nice battle trap. And moving on, finally, to the last 3 traps. Again, like spells, we have 3 power 1-ofs. We do have the 1 Compulse, the 1 Bottomless, and the 1 Breakthrough. Again, all single copy power trap cards. So that is it for the main deck. Moving on to the extra deck, we start off with, again, 2 Madolche Queen Tiramisu. She is, again, my favorite XYZ monster in the whole game. And just because she has a great effect, plus her design looks great, in my opinion. That's why I kind of like Madolche as a whole, because, well, the deck just looks really aesthetic. So, and, of course, our boss monster has to also look aesthetic. So, if you guys don't know what Tiramisu does, she has a really stellar effect. And what reads is that once per turn, you can detach 1 XYZ material from this card, then target up to 2 Madolche cards in your graveyard, which is cost, keep in mind, and shuffle those targets into deck, and then shuffle cards your opponent controls into the deck up to the number of Madolche cards you returned. So basically, this is a non-targeting Castel that does it twice, which is ridiculous. The effect is so crazy that essentially, if you can resolve Tiramisu once or twice in a duel, you should win, because the effect is just that broken. So we do run the 2 Tiramisu. Next up, we run the 2 Levier the Sea Dragon. We have to run 2 because this is one of our combo-based XYZ monsters. We have to run a couple of them at least, because we will be going into it whenever we do our degenerate combos. So we have the 2 Levier just for that. Next up, we run the 1 Invoker. For the same sort of reason like why we run Levier, it's a combo piece XYZ that we really need to run. But there are odd times when we do not have a banished monster to summon via Leviair. So instead of having Leviair, we have the one Invoker, just in case we don't have that banished monster access. So we can go into Invoker and at least get another level 4 from our deck. So we can at least keep our plays going. Next up, we run the one Downerd Magician because most of our combos will end up with us having a Tiramisu and either a Leviair or Invoker on board. So I have the Downerd Magician to overlay over said Leviair or Invoker so we can establish that much bigger board, because by themselves, Leviair and Invoker aren't really strong as they're only 1800 attack and 1600 attack respectively. So I like to have that Downer to overlay straight over that Leviair or Invoker to make a 2.5k beater that has piercing. Moving on to the rank 4s, we have the one Castel, because Castel is still a great card, and although we do have Tiramisu, sometimes we just have to make some kind of random rank 4 where we need to spin something back to deck, so we have the Castel for that. We have the one Abyss Dweller, because it's just a good rank 4 nowadays. There's still a couple graveyard decks that are going around, so having the Abyss Dweller to shut them down is very helpful in those matchups. We have the one Exciton Knight because nuking the board is never a bad option to have. We have the one number 50 Black Ship to help us push for gaming damage and just to help get smaller problem monsters off board and like Dante and whatnot, and also to get that burn damage in. Next up, we run the one Gagaga Cowboy because poking for game is always nice. And then finally, for the last rank 4, we do play the one number 82 Heartland Draco because we have quite a few continuous spells and traps in our field spell and our ticket. So having the Heartland Draco to really put that pressure on board or just poke for that 2000 game breaking damage is always nice. Moving on to the rank 3s, we start off with one Zen Mains, again, for defense, because this deck doesn't really have any. So I do try and really get some defensive cards into the deck so that I always can have some sort of fallback. We have the one Soul of Silver Mountain. Again, we have this over Alucard because what this guy does is essentially what Alucard does, is that it gets rid of any of our opponent's set cards. But the benefit of Soul is that they have to keep that set card on board and they cannot activate it while Soul is on board. So that kind of clogs up our opponent's back row, I could say. But what Soul also does is that whenever it possibly destroys a monster by battle, I can special summon one level 4 or earth monster from my grave. So as you can see, Soul kind of helps us get into some weird combos, or at least gets us into a position where we can start plussing off of our other monsters. So that's why we do run the one Soul in our deck over the Alucard. And then finally, for the last rank 3, we do run the one number 20 Giga Brilliant because there are times when we might seem like we're making just random extra deck monsters on board. So we have the number 20 just for when we do have that random rank 3 that we can make for no reason, and because making a 3k Tiramisu is pretty hilarious. So that is it for my updated Madolche deck profile. I hope you guys did enjoy. Please let me know what you guys think of the list down in the comment section below. And I just realized that glare is really bad. I'm sorry about that glare, guys. But, well, again, please let me know what you guys think of the list down in the comment section below. And as always, this is Kyurem from the Trinity of Lift, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.